Before we get started, I would appreciate if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. So what can a 51% attacker do? This is what a 51% attacker can potentially do whilst controlling most of the hash rate. And I've already covered this already, that they can stop certain transactions or all transactions from being confirmed on the blockchain, halt payments, since miners are responsible for confirming blocks of transactions. They can reverse transactions they made that were completed whilst they were in control of the network, which could enable them to do a double spend attack. Example, they spend Bitcoin to buy something and then reverse their own transactions as if it never happened. And thirdly, they can prevent other miners from completing blocks and earning rewards. So what can't a 51% blockchain attacker do? 1, they can't inflate the supply of coins by creating new ones. So as we know, every 10 minutes on average, when a block is solved, the miner earns a fixed reward for mining Bitcoins, and the supply of that reward is fixed. Now what a miner cannot do by owning 51% of the blockchain hash rate, they cannot inflate that supply. They cannot make Bitcoins more than 21 million in total supply, and they cannot create new Bitcoins by making the mining reward more than whatever it is. So if the mining reward is 12.5 Bitcoins, they cannot make it 22.5 Bitcoins, 100 Bitcoins. They have no control over the supply and creation of new coins except what the protocol allows. So they cannot change the block reward beyond the fixed mining rewards, as I've explained. They cannot go beyond the fixed mining reward of whatever that is, whether it's 12.5, 6.25. They cannot make the mining reward more, nor can they increase the supply of the mining reward or the overall supply of Bitcoin. They cannot mine coins faster than the algorithm will allow. So we know the average time frame is 10 minutes, and that's how long it takes for a block puzzle to be solved. A 51% attacker cannot make it faster by making it be every 1 minute, every 2 minutes, so that they can earn rewards faster. Nope, they cannot do that. They cannot prevent transactions from being created or broadcast to the network. So while there is a 51% attack, transactions can still occur in the network. People can still send transactions to each other, and they can still broadcast that these transactions have been sent from one person to another to the network of nodes, and they would all be registered as unconfirmed transactions. So unconfirmed transactions could still occur, and it would still be shown on the ledger that all these unconfirmed transactions have taken place, and it will just be in a pool known as a mem pool, where it's, or what I call it, a waiting pool, where all these unconfirmed transactions will be in this waiting pool until they are confirmed. So a 51% attacker cannot prevent these transactions from occurring. So if the network is under 51% attack, you do not have to feel afraid to make a transaction thinking that the 51% attacker can prevent that transaction from being broadcast to the network, because they do not. Your transactions can still be made, but what the 51% attacker has control of is whether those transactions get confirmed or not. Now, a 51% attacker cannot make any changes to the protocol, such as increasing the block limit. So as we have already discussed, the block size limit is 1 megabytes per block, and a 51% attacker cannot change that by making it 2 megabytes, 5 megabytes in order to add more transactions to the block. So they have no control over that. A 51% attacker cannot steal anybody else's coins that do not belong to them. So if you have Bitcoins in your wallet, you're making a Bitcoin transaction, you do not have to feel afraid or worry that because the network is undergoing a 51% attack, that your coins are not secure, your coins are going to be stolen, any transactions that you make is going to be intercepted. It does not work like that. The 51% attacker has no control over anybody else's coins in their wallet and has no control over the broadcasting of their transactions to the network. Now, a 51% attacker, as I mentioned, they can do a double spend attack where they make a payment and they reverse that payment, and in order to use the Bitcoins that they've spent twice. We're going to discuss more on that. However, what they cannot do, they cannot reverse transactions from anybody else within the network. So if you've made a payment and that payment transaction has been confirmed, a 51% attacker cannot reverse your transactions. They can only reverse their own transactions. So everybody else's transactions is safe and cannot be reversed. However, only the 51% attacker if they make a transaction, then they can potentially reverse their own transaction in order to double spend their own coins. So as you can see, what a 51% attacker can do and can't do, there is a big difference, and there's a lot they can't do, so they're really limited in what they can actually do. And then we're going to have to question whether it's even worth attacking Bitcoin in that manner, because remember, owning 51% of the hashing power is going to be extremely expensive, madly expensive. It's not going to be cheap to 51% attack the Bitcoin blockchain and own 51% of the computing power of the network. When we start talking about the numbers, you're going to see how expensive such a thing is, and there's really not much incentive for them to even do it. What's the point? So what can't a 51% attacker do? As I've already explained, they cannot steal anybody else's Bitcoin. They cannot inflate the supply by creating new coins into the circulation beyond the fixed mining rewards. They cannot mine Bitcoin any faster than the algorithm will allow, and that's 1 block every 10 minutes approximately. They cannot do anything that is invalid by the Bitcoin protocol, such as increasing the block limit beyond the 1 megabyte limit, and they cannot reverse other people's transactions or prevent their transactions from being created and broadcasted to the network. So should you be concerned about a 51% attack on the Bitcoin blockchain network? Worry, be scared? Well, even though a 51% attack is not good for the confidence people may have in the blockchain, your coins are still safe. That's something that you should know, is that the security of your coins is not affected whether the blockchain had a 51% attack or whether the blockchain had a 100% attack. Your coins are still safe, and any transactions you have made that have already been confirmed on the network is safe and valid. And any transactions you made during the attack, if they were not included in a block to be confirmed, they will just remain in a waiting pool to be confirmed eventually by other miners. So it's possible during a 51% attack, you make a transaction and 10 minutes has gone by and your transaction was not confirmed. An hour has gone by and your transaction was not confirmed. So the person you sent the transaction to has not received your coins because the transaction has not been confirmed. Now, you, on the other hand, since the transaction has not been confirmed, you have neither lost your coins, but what happens to the transaction, and let's just say the reason why it hasn't been confirmed because the attacker is not including your transaction in the block to be confirmed. So what happens to your transaction is that they will just wait in a waiting pool, an unconfirmed transaction waiting pool, in order to be confirmed eventually by other miners. And if they are not confirmed by other miners over a period of time, I think it's about 7 days, then what would happen is the transaction would just be cleared, erased from the network, and your coins would be sent back to you. So after some time, if those transactions are not confirmed, then it's just forgotten about and your coins are returned back to you and you do not actually lose any coins. So Bitcoin has never suffered from a 51% attack. Over 10 years, Bitcoin has never suffered from a 51% attack as of yet. And it is now very highly unlikely to ever suffer from one for various reasons, and we'll go into that. So no, you should not really be worried, concerned, afraid, scared, panicked about a 51% attack occurring with Bitcoin. And if it ever did, hopefully you understand better what a 51% attack is, what a 51% attacker can do and what they can't do. So if it ever did occur, you do not need to worry about the safety or security of your coins or the transactions you make, whether they're valid or not once they've been confirmed, or what happens to your transactions if they are not included in the block. You do not have to worry about that either, because they will be confirmed by other miners eventually, or the transaction would be returned back to you in your wallet for you to make the transaction again if they are not confirmed, because the 51% attacker does not include it in the block space. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so as to not miss my next video. Take care and goodbye.